But you know what's happened now? We have no value of any kind. And so the poet writes these words. Who are we? What is our creed? We believe in Marx, Freud, and Darwin. We believe everything is okay as long as you don't hurt anyone, to the best of your definition of hurt, and to the best of your definition of knowledge. We believe in sex before, during, and after marriage. We believe in the therapy of sin. We believe that adultery is fun. We believe that taboos are taboo. We believe that everything's getting better despite evidence to the contrary. The evidence must be investigated, and you can prove anything with evidence. We believe there's something in horoscopes, UFOs, and bent spoons. Jesus was a good man, just like Buddha, Muhammad, and ourselves. He was a good moral teacher, although we think some of his good morals were basically bad. We believe that all religions are basically the same, at least the ones that we read were. They all believe in love and goodness. They only differ on matters of creation, sin, heaven, hell, God, and salvation. We believe that after death comes the nothing, because when you ask the dead what happens, they say nothing. If death is not the end and if the dead have lied, then it's compulsory heaven for all, excepting perhaps Hitler, Stalin, and Genghis Khan. We believe in Masters and Johnson. What's selected is average, what's average is normal, what's normal is good. We believe in total disarmament because we believe there are direct links between warfare and bloodshed. Americans should beat their guns into tractors and the Russians would be sure to follow. We believe that man is essentially good. It's only his behavior that lets him down. This is the fault of society. Society is the fault of conditions, and conditions are the fault of society. We believe that each man must find the truth that is right for him, and reality will adapt accordingly. The universe will readjust, history will alter. We believe that there is no absolute truth, except the truth that there is no absolute truth. We believe in the rejection of creeds and the flowering of individual thought. And then he puts this postscript. If chance be the father of all flesh, disaster is his rainbow in the sky. And when you hear state of emergency, sniper kills 10, youths go looting, troops on rampage, bomb blast school, it is but the sound of man worshipping his maker. If chance be the father of all flesh, disaster is his rainbow in the sky. And when you hear the sound of emergency, troops go looting, youth bomb blast school, it is but the sound of man worshipping his maker. Ladies and gentlemen, if we don't get this right, we slide into the abyss of total relativism in which the most powerful and the greediest and the most destructive will triumph in the end. I remember I was in Bangkok, Thailand for some meetings, and the front desk lady called me. They know me there quite well. She says, Mr. Zacharias, have you turned on your television? I said, no. Why? She said, because your country is being bombed. I said, what? She said, your country is being bombed. I didn't know what she meant. I turned it on, and what I saw was so surreal. I didn't know if that was actually happening or not. We had a donor in our ministry, a young man, who saw this happening from a distance. And his wife wrote to us a week later saying he was so despondent, he literally thought it was the end of America, the end of the world. He went into our home, took out a gun, and finished himself off. Total despair. Total despair. If God doesn't exist, the God of the Bible, the radicals who did that think they play God. They really don't. It's a political theory masquerading as a religion with a hot seedbed of hate and destruction where the only answer is killing. The moral law says this: your life is of intrinsic value and I cannot violate it. I cannot violate your life. I cannot violate your sexuality. I cannot violate your home. I cannot violate your property. I cannot violate your time. It's all sacred. If you take the 10 Commandments and put one word at the top of it, it'll be the word sacred. Life is sacred, time is sacred, property is sacred. I have no right to violate your life. I must respect it. God pays you the greatest tribute by telling you He's made you in the image of God. When Pilate looked at Jesus, he paid us the greatest tribute by looking at Jesus, putting the words, Ecce homo, behold the man. Without God, there is no moral law. Without God, there is no meaning. Life has absolutely no meaning. Bertrand Russell said this, that it all ends up in a cloud of despair. There's no essential worth. There's no ultimate purpose. In the 1980s, I was doing an open forum at the University of Philippines in Manila, when a student popped out of his seat and he shouted at me. He said, everything is meaningless. I don't know why you're talking about meaning. Everything is meaningless. I said, you don't believe that. He said, I do. I said, no, you don't. He said, yes, I do. I said, you don't. He said, who are you to tell me I don't? I said, repeat it. He said, everything is meaningless. I said, you don't mean that. He said, I do. I said, can I ask you a question? If everything is meaningless, then what you just said was not meaningful. On the other hand, if what you just said was meaningful, then everything is not meaningless. And in fact, you've really said nothing. You know what happened after that meeting? I was walking out with some of the guys who had brought me in. I generally need some ushers to get me out. So he was taking me out, and I saw this guy standing at the back of the hall saying, if everything is meaningless and everything. That night he came to the local church where I was doing evangelistic meetings. When I gave the invitation, he was the first one up at the altar on his knees before God, finding meaning for the first time. That's exactly what Oscar Wilde meant. Did you love any one of them for their own sakes? You are loved by God for your own sake. God doesn't want you to be anybody else. He's wired you. He's framed you. He's made you as a distinctive and a unique individual. Honor that investment by the distinctive splendor that He has given to you individually. Don't try to be somebody else. Accept the way He's made you as a unique gift that is distinctively yours. That is distinctively yours. You know, we had all kinds of problems in our home today. The basement got flooded, and one of the drawers in the kitchen broke. And all this was going on, and my wife has gone to Toronto, so I'm taking care of all of that like a nice husband at home. So I sent her a nice email and said, you picked the perfect day to do this. And so I called a friend of mine. I said, could you help me fix this drawer? So he showed up, and he spent about 40, 50 minutes, made a brace like this, did that. And I stood there and thought to myself, I'm an absolute fool when it comes to these things. My father-in-law looked at the toolbox in my home once and said, is this a toy box or a toolbox? You should see my hammer. I could put it in my pocket. I have absolutely no ability with those things. The Bible talks about, in the day shall come when the carpenter shall encourage the goldsmith. Right? A goldsmith works with fine, precious jewelry with an eye for the precious. A carpenter with the rough-hewn stuff, and the man with the rough hands can encourage the man working with the fine, precious jewelry. I don't know how He's made you, but He's given your life meaning.